Okay, so once again, good morning and good afternoon, all. Myself, Miss Sonia Shibila Ellen, currently working as a lecturer in Faculty of Business and Management Studies, Gulf College, Sultanate of Oman. And my co-author is Miss Pavithra Shetty, lecturer in FBMS, Gulf College, Sultanate of Oman. Our research topic is best practices in improving student performance, lessons from introductory accounting module. The reason why we have this topic is just because of the fact that the accounting is highly regarded as a challenging subject in business programs where the students are with a weak accounting background, and as a result the module outcome is low passing, or in other words it's a high failure rate. And if we look accounting around the world, we could see similar situations with some of the accounting modules with high failure rate. As example, 74.2% failure in cost accounting in one of the colleges in Kuwait, 2015, poor performance of non-accounting students in financial accounting in a university in Malaysia, 2012. Hence, within the bounds of global standard, accounting seems feared among business subjects. So taking this otherwise, failure rate indicates underlying concern for both the teachers and the students. Our research started during the discussion which we conducted for the workshop on external examiner report. So every semester we conduct workshop on external examiner report where we discuss the module outcome, and it has been identified that over a couple of semesters it is high failure rate for the accounting module in the business program. So based on the discussion held on October 2018 on the external examiner report, this is what we have identified. It is 67% and 61% of high failure rate from the two batches for this introductory accounting module in the business program, in which it is 32% failure in the mid assessment and 43% failure for the final assessment. And considering the repeaters, we could still see a high failure rate of 63% who had to repeat the module and repeat the assessments as well. Hence, we decided, like, as it was quite alarming that the failure rate is increasing over the semesters, we, the accounting and finance team, decided to conduct an action research, and we started our study during the first semester of academic year 2019-20. And as a basis of comparison, we have taken the module outcome from the second semester of academic year 2018-19. So we implemented two strategies during the first semester of 2019 and 2020. And in order to analyze the result of implementing this strategy, the module outcomes of the previous semester was considered, and the semester under study consisted of 160 BMS students, and the comparison of the previous semester consisted of 186 BMS students. Further, results were sorted according to gender, student status, and class session, which were tested for statistical difference. And the main predictor of students' average mark in the introductory accounting is identified using multiple regression analysis. So as a best practices in teaching and learning, the first strategy which we implemented was the formative assessments, a lecture consisting of teaching hours and guided learning hours. So it was during the guided learning hours where we started conducting the formative test after finishing each new topics. So the formative test was like a written test during the guided learning hours, or we used other mediums like Moodle in order to conduct the formative test, and each student's performance was evaluated, and accordingly we provided them feed forward comments highlighting, identifying their weak areas, and we provided them appropriate comments in order to improve their performance. And this practice was conducted throughout the semester. The second strategy which we implemented was peer learning. Here again, during the guided learning hours, the students were made into groups and they were allowed to work together, which was really a great opportunity for the students to work together, discuss together, and learn from each other. And once the tutorial or the task is being done in groups, their group performance as well as the individual performance were evaluated, and we identified the weak areas, and we here also provided with feed forward comments which do really help the students to identify their weak areas, and we gave them tips on how to improve it, and this was really very helpful for the students to improve their performance. So here in this table, you can see the percentage of module outcomes, the number percentage of passed, failed, and the repeaters. So considering, if you see as on the table, when we compare after implementing the strategy, the performance of the students during the first semester of 1920 was much better with a high passing rate as compared with the previous semester, second semester of academic year 1890. This table, table number 2, shows the number of pass, fail, and repeaters per semester by average mark. So if you can see here, during the first semester of academic year 1920, where we have implemented these strategies, the number of first class and the upper class is 51 and 32, which shows that it has been increased compared to the previous semester, which it was just 31 and 19. And the focus you can see in the number of failures during the first semester of academic year 2019 and 2020, it was just one student among the regular who failed, where it was 13 compared to the previous year, and among the repeaters it was just 11 students who failed, where it was 51 during the previous semester. So overall, we could identify that the performance of the students had improved and the passing rate has improved after implementing these two strategies. Further, you can see the number of pass, fail, and repeaters per semester by module components. So during the first semester of academic year 1920, you can see that the students, more number of students have passed in the final assessment in comparison to the mid test, where it was the reverse during the previous semester, where the number of students comparatively passed more in the mid test. However, there is not much difference in the failed category. More or less, it was similar for both the components. And you can see here, quite a couple of number of non-submitters are still there. However, the result shows that there is improvement in the performance. Now, we wanted to test if there is any significant difference between the component marks by gender. So here it shows the univariate analysis of variance, and this tested the statistical difference between a set of variables. So in the calculation, we have used SPSS version 20 and have assigned the average mark as the dependent variable and gender, status, and session as the independent variable. It is significantly statistically significant if the result is lower than 0.05, and as you see here for gender and exam, the result is 0.713, which is not significant. So it means that there is no significant difference between the marks of female and male students in exam 1. Considering the same study for the second component, exam 2, the result shows it is 0.994, which is also showing that it is not significant, and there is no relatively difference between the marks of male and female students for exam 2, which is the second component. But here you can see that exam 1 and exam 2 with a value of 0.000 is highly significant, and it has a direct relation over the average marks. Here we used multiple regression. We wanted to find out among the 5 variables which variable is the best predictor of the average mark for the module. And coefficient is the best statistical tool to analyze, and it is significant if the value is lower than 0.05. So as you can see in the table, from the result, we could identify that both exam 1 and exam 2 with the value of 0.000 are the predictors for the average mark of the module. So here you can see that in the beta column, for mode of study, it's a value of negative 0.068, where we have valued or coded 1 for the morning students and 2 for the evening students. And as the value decreases, the average mark increases, and we could identify from the result that the evening students were with a lower average mark in comparison to the morning students. Similarly, with regard to the attempt, we coded 1 for the first attempt and 2 for second or more attempts. And with the result of negative 0.004, we could identify that the average mark of repeaters were like significantly reduces as they are being capped at 40. And the same result for gender with a value of negative 0.013, where we coded 1 for male and 2 for females, and we could identify that the females are with a lower average mark than the male students. So overall, with the help of multiple regression, we could identify that it is exam 1 and exam 2, both with the value of 0.000, are the predictors of module average mark. So these are our conclusion. Formative assessments with feed-forward feedback and peer learning helped improve the pass rate in the introductory accounting module in the business program. There has been a remarkable increase in the number of pass students after the implementation of these teaching strategies. There is statistical significant difference in the component marks of the students that affected their average module mark. Gender, mode of study, and number of attempts have no implication on the average marks of the student, and the marks in the two module components highly influences the average mark of the students. However, we have these research limitations. The teaching strategies cannot be assumed effective for all cohorts as there are individual differences among the learners. So here we have implemented these teaching strategies during the first semester of 2019 and 2020, where maybe the students are accustomed to these two teaching strategies and may not be the same cases where for other cohorts where there are individual differences among the learners. Also, the teaching strategies can only be effective when consistently practiced and assessed. And also, there are other variables that which we did not consider in the quantitative assessment, such as GPA of students, student-teacher ratio, attendance, and among others. The results imply something on the type of teaching strategy in class. It is also worth mentioning that the role of teacher in implementing the teaching and learning strategy is very important. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.